Hits for the pound.
Yeah, this is how we do it in the Central Colors, man. We got 40 ounces, Old English, rag tops, 6'4" Impalas, and bikini girls, man. This is how we do it on the West Coast. San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles. But don't forget about the Central Cali, man. Please don't forget about the Central Cali. Yeah, get 'em.
It's another sunny day in the state of California. Low rider palm trees and G's that put it on ya. This ain't a negative, we speaking ebonics. Rank talk, candy paint on D's with hydraulics. Baseball hat with the sticker on the brim. Don't let the sun blind your sight, cause things can get grim. But I'm not here to talk about banana clips and guns. We're going back to Cali and we're gonna have some fun. A West Coast domination.
And welcome back to Two-Face Entertainment Podcast. I am your host, Fred Segura, out here in Monterey County, also known to the world as the Salad Bowl, also known as the Salinas Valley. To the people in LA, we are north. To the people in San Francisco, we are south, right smack in the middle, best of both worlds. Don't forget about the Central Cali. Anyway, folks, today, man, we are here with to help or not to help. That is the question. Guys, as you guys already know, those of you who follow on social media and all this, hoopla stuff going on right now with comedian George Lopez and Ralph Barbosa deal. And I know he apologized. We we'll get into all the whole thing about it. But the question is, guys, does somebody who's made it to a full success, does he or she actually owe you anything? I understand, guys, that it's easy to kind of put into the whole thing of like, well, you've built a path and you laid a foundation, you kind of got, it should be easier for the people behind you. However, it doesn't always work like that. My whole thing is, okay, let's start with one thing at a time, guys. Okay, let's just say, for example, is he held to a regard where he has to help you out? He has to help out a fellow comedian. I'm not talking about race, Latino and help out. No, a fellow comedian with talent. Is he, held in that regard to help him out and give him a hand and pull him up to his thing? We've seen back in the day where comedians like Rodney Dangerfield, Eddie Murphy, such a high regard names in the comedy world, they've, pulled in unknown comedians and gave them a jump start, if you will. Yeah, it seems logical, right? I mean, it's cool. I think to an extent, we should be able to do that. However, it's, if you look at it from that perspective, it's fine. I get it. And, we can look at George Lopez, and I'm not taking any sides here on anybody, you know what I mean? We could look at George Lopez and be like, well, you know what? We could just crucify the man. Has he done wrong to other comedians? Obviously, comedians are starting to come out. People are starting to come out. Oh, he's this, he's that. Okay, granted, we're not here to talk about that. We're not here to bash the man George Lopez, as a person, not a comedian, as a person. I'm not here to bash him. We are not here to bash him. What it is I'm trying to look at both sides of the story. If you look at it from, again, where he has to help somebody out, yeah, shit. But yeah, dude, I mean, you got your start to do Sandra Bullock, you know what I mean? So it's only right for you to kind of help pull somebody in, right? And it makes a lot of sense, and you kind of be the man responsible for, so-and-so's success. And that's awesome, right? In a perfect world. However, guys, let's get into this. What happens if he does, say, for example, he pulls up some Joe Schmo out of the out of the bunch and becomes super successful. Okay. But then what happens if that comedian becomes Tommy Gunn of Rocky V? To where now he's ungrateful to the person who gave him his start. Oh, well, I'm better than you. I'm here, and you made me famous, but see, I made it bigger. He starts kind of pushing him to the side. In my perspective of this, guys, it's pretty much almost like the music business, where you try to, people see you have somewhat of success, you try to help them out, and then you become impatient. You got somebody in their ear talking, like I've said this before many times on the channel, that, I should do my own thing, and you put me on the back burner, and and because maybe they're not ready, and he's trying to build them up. How do we not know that George Lopez hasn't already gone through that and just doesn't want to deal with that anymore? Granted that if he said, or like he said, oh, who is that guy? I don't know who he is or whatever. Okay, whatever. Maybe he was sincere, maybe he's acting. We don't know. I mean, regardless of the case, again, we're not here to bash him. But at the same time, I'm looking at it from a perspective of, what if he's already tried to help somebody out and it just was left a bad taste in his mouth, and he just ain't trying to deal with that no more. There's a lot of ungrateful people in this world. Shout out to a good friend of mine, Cholo Trucker out there. He brought up kind of the same situation, to where he used the term of, you give a man a fish or you teach him to fish, But at the end of the day, guys, if you teach somebody to fish, we don't know if that person's going to turn around and, try to stick a hook in your back, pun intended, so it can really go south on that end. I mean, we don't know the full, we only know what we see, what we're allowed to see. We don't know what happens behind the scenes, because there's no reason for George Lopez to come out and be like, well, you know what, I tried to help out this guy, and then he turned around and did this, so I stopped helping him. That's not going to happen, guys, because then he'll be giving light to somebody that he chooses not to, for whatever reason it may have been. And I'm not saying it was personal. It's just sometimes people don't know how to take in any kind of success. I've dealt with artists where you get them in and you get them a couple of hundred more likes, and people are actually trying to gravitate toward them, and they start to feel like, oh, well, I'm the one making you. No, buddy. It's like somebody moving into your house that has nowhere to go. But after a couple of months, they start feeling like, well, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be eating, or you wouldn't be doing this because I'm helping you pay this and that. Well, they tend to forget why they moved into your house in the first place. You were fine. That's what it becomes. And granted that George Lopez's partner there, or sidekick, Mr. Gill, he said, I don't think it's the right thing to do, and George Lopez said, you got to think about yourself. He told Trevino that on this podcast. I could kind of see that side of it, looking from a different perspective. I can kind of see that part of it, you know what I mean? Because nobody's really going to care for you, you know what I mean? They're going to care for you at the beginning. But once you hand them these tools or these jewels or whatever you want to call it, a lot of people tend to forget where they came from and who really helped them out. And it happens in life, guys. It happens in real life. It happens to everybody, It's like, if you help out somebody, you pull them up and you bring them in, yeah, you help them out tremendously. But are they really going to be humble enough to understand how the hard work it actually takes? You just gave them a shortcut. That's like giving your child everything they've always wanted, where they didn't have to work for it. Oftentimes, let's just go there. They become a spoiled brat, feeling that they are entitled. So this is my perspective of how I see that situation at hand. You know what I mean? Again, it can go different ways. This is just my perspective of the pros and cons. Is George Lopez held up to a high regard? Is anybody held up to a high regard to where you need to help somebody out? If you hit the lotto, do you have to give somebody something, so much amount, or you worked all your life and you saved up enough money, but now you're held up to hey, well, you need to help out so and so. You know what? Yes, to an extent, yes. But at the same time, you didn't get what you got. You didn't get it for free. You worked your tail off. Now, we lightly touch on the Sandra Bullock, George Lopez situation, right? She gave him a start. She gave him a chance or whatever. But George Lopez had to work his tail off to get to where he had to get to. If she gave him a piece, he had to just keep going with that. You know what I mean? Into becoming who he became. Now, could George Lopez do the same thing for somebody? Yeah, sure. But again, we don't know if that one person or various people, you know what I mean? It just didn't work out, and he just doesn't want to deal with the headache. I myself, as a independent entrepreneur about holding a label and stuff, I don't even want to deal with artists. It's a headache. They're drama. They're drama queens. They I've said this before, personally to a good friend of mine, but I'm gonna tell you guys straight out. And going into a different realm here, music artists, independent music artists, are gold digging hoes. Okay, the independent label is a pimp in a sense, and the artists are gold digging hoes. And I'm going to tell you why. If you bring them in and you're trying to help them out, you're trying to build them as an A&R, and you know what I mean, as a legit label, you're trying to build them up. You got always somebody on the side, oh, well, no, you need to do this, you should do this, and don't listen to him. Look, he's putting you on the back burner, right? And say, for example, the other person has, for example, a studio. And you basically are just the headquarters, the office, but you go to the studio. They're going to say, oh, well, you know what? I'm going to jam with him over here. Because he has a studio and he's making him all these promises. That's a gold digging hole to me. If you look at it from that perspective. Because they feel they can get more over here. They don't want it. They don't want to wait and build it. They want it now. That's the difference. Same thing goes for these comedians and actors and whatever situation may be, guys. It's the same difference. So, do I blame George Lopez on one hand? No, I don't. Do I see his perspective? In a sense, if I'm looking at it from this perspective, I can understand that. And the man's not wrong. Has he been an a-hole and did some stuff to people? Yeah, granted. Okay. Should he help somebody out? I say yes, but then again, we don't know. As fans, we don't know. Maybe he already did. And it didn't work out, and he just doesn't want to deal with it. That's just a fact. So I see all these channels and people, kind of bashing on the guy and stuff like that. And I'm not here to defend them. I'm just here to put a different perspective or shine a new light on the situation. I mean, I would think that in a perfect world, it should be that way. But we also got to understand that people are very, very ungrateful and quickly forget where they come from. And that within itself, guys, could just be a bad thing. And in the end, it reflects back on whoever says something like that. Like, well, I'm not going to help him out, or whatever the situation is. He had bad deals and bad encounters with comedian Paul Rodriguez and Eric and actor Eric Estrada, all this other stuff. Yeah, I get it, but that's a whole separate issue, guys. And if George Lopez does have a bad just a bad bone like that where he feels he doesn't owe anybody anything, hey, you know what? I mean, that's what it is. You know, is it wrong? Yeah, it is. It's sad to think that you forget where you came from. Like Gunners Collective also stated that George Lopez became Erik Estrada now. He's not, you know, he's kind of forgetting who he was and where he came from, and, you know, because Erik Estrada wouldn't shake his hand and so forth. So that kind of stuff, that's just my perspective. I mean, but at the same time, guys, I mean, I think that shouldn't stop anybody from doing anything. Instead of they're crying about, hey, well, you owe me and you need to do. Hey, you know what? Keep doing you, man. Keep doing you. Get out there and get it done. You know, I myself, I decided to start a podcast, and do I want the background and all the nice stuff like all these other channels I see? Yeah. But I got to start somewhere, man. I'm here in my vehicle. You know, one of my vehicles. I'm here. Because if I sit around and wait, time's just passing by, dude. Get it done. Go out there and get it done, dude. Don't worry about who owes you what or whatever. Build yourself, dude. You know? And again, don't forget where you come from. But hey, you know what? Sometimes it's not that you forget where you come from. It's just that it's something that maybe you don't want to share with the rest of the world as to why you do what you do and why you do that. Bottom line. I'm just trying to bring a whole new perspective into it, guys. More of an open thing to it. And that's really it. Okay. With that, guys, I mean, I'm going to make it short, sweet, to the point. And that's what it is, guys. Okay. And that's pretty much it. With that, guys, this is Two-Face Entertainment Podcast. I am your host, Fred Segura, signing out.